Shalom Aleichem, brothers and sisters. How are you today? This is Uriyah Baraka coming with the second part of the Testimony of Yahshua. We have and will come to understand that in the written law of commandments is the life of self-denial. Yahshua taught self-denial as a pattern of messianic living. This is shown by the fact that 9 of the commandments, if not all, are written with the negative Hebrew lo, which means not, okay, uh, or no. It can be used in both ways, not or no. Lo, lamid, alif. Therefore, the lo not teaches constriction of evil desires or those things that are opposed to the commandments. Thou shalt not kill, which is opposite of you shall love. You shall live a life of charity. Thou shalt not steal, which is the opposite of you shall live a life of truth, honesty, integrity. So we are to constrict those things that are in opposition. And this is called the life of self-denial. The not, again, teaches constriction of the desires of self related to the earth, to its dark nature. These must be constricted for the manifestation of light. That is, by constricting the darkness of self, we actually open ourselves to reception to the divine spirit, in which is all truth, that gives us enlightenment to understand the things that is related to the will of Yahweh, and to impute in us through obedience the divine nature, as it is written in 2 Peter 1:4, that through these precious promises we become partakers of divine nature. We become partakers of divine nature first by constricting the evil desires, the yitzhahara of the evil nature that misdirects us into a path of darkness and death. This is why Yeshua taught as a mandate to his Talmudim disciples that the life of self must be constricted, teaching us the lo, the not of the commandments. Lo tanag, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not kill. Lo, constrict the darkness of these attributes, these inclinations within you, and walk within the righteousness of the Torah, so that you can be a partaker of divine nature, having been purged of the darkness of the human nature through the obedience of truth. Uh, he was therefore teaching the law of the commandments, as said before, when he says that any wish to come after me, deny thyself. That was the law, the not of the commandment, constrict, which is the life of self-denial, Matthew 16:24. Those who say yes or it don't matter are those whom the prophet spoke of in Yahuah, Jeremiah 7:9-10, where it speaks concerning those who have this attitude as if the holy Torah does not matter. Elohim's holy law is now irrelevant because of a teaching that when Yeshua died upon the tree, well, not Yeshua, but their Jesus that they've invented, died upon the cross, he annulled the commandments. This is foolishness. So in Jeremiah 7:9-10, he deals with this matter. The prophet deals with this matter. He says, will you steal, murder, commit adultery, and swear falsely, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, the name Yahuah, and say we are delivered to do all these abominations? He's asking the question. Do you think this is actually truth, to think in such a way that you can lie, steal, commit all these abominations? Notice that they were saying yes or it don't matter to things that directly related to the law of commandments. And what did the Spirit of Yahweh call them? Abominations. Toabot, filthy, abhorrent. That is, things rejected by Yahuah and fall into the category of lo, not, constrict, things or behaviors deriving from the darkness of self, which must be denied. Therefore, the teachings of self-denial which Yahshua taught derives from the law of commandments. And he was himself in a constant state of self-denial, thus a keeper of the law of commandments. Thus we must ask ourselves, have we been delivered to ignore the commandments? Remember, Paul said, neither circumcision matters nor uncircumcision, but the keeping of the commandments. This must be perfectly understood. Paul was talking about the rituals of fleshly ordinance. They're nothing. They have no atonement within them except through a obedience of the commandments. Because the commandments is the teachings of self-denial, the denial of the darkness that is within the heart of man, so that he can be in reception to the light of Yahweh. We must realize, in light of the scriptures, that relationship with Elohim is impossible without the keeping of the commandments. A religion without moral divine law is a religion of nihilism, period, and delusion. The Constantine branch of Christianity is just that, sorry to say, but it's true. It is a doctrine that has filtered into the so-called Reformed and modern secular church, and it must be completely denied to come out of this delusion that one can enter into the kingdom of Elohim without obedience to moral law. The Apostle Yachanan, John, instructs us in this way. He says, he that says, I know him, Yada, I know him, I have an intimate relationship with him, and keep not, lo, his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. John 2:4. It is to be noted here that the Hebrew term know is yada, meaning to know, to have knowledge of, intimacy of relationship. The apostle is therefore teaching us that, as I have already said, relationship with Elohim is impossible apart from the keeping of the commandments. How then do we rectify this? We do as we are taught from the instruction of the word. Yachanan teaches, he that says he abide in him should walk, live, as Yahshua walked, lived. 1 John 2:6. Yahshua lived to what? Fulfill Kayam, the righteousness of the Torah of the commandments. Therefore, to be received into salvation, we ought to do the same. No doubt about it. If we wish to achieve the end that Yahshua achieved, then we must apply the same method that he applied. This is reasonable. This is intelligent. They that differ from this approach, the apostles teaches that they are liars. I didn't say it. Yachanan said it. The apostle of Yeshua said it. The anointed of Yahuah said it. You are a liar. I happen to believe, and in the testimony of the apostles, the writings of the apostles, I believe unapologetically that they were in agreement with the teachings of Yeshua and the prophets. And this teaching is very clear and very easy to understand. The foundation of the new covenant life stands on the keeping of the law of commandments written by the finger of Elohim, lived and fulfilled by Yeshua unto eternal glory. If our hope is glorification, this is the means by which we are to attain the very same end that Yeshua attained, as said before, in his life by the appropriation of Amunah through and in conjunction with the keeping of the commandments unto the death, the constriction, the denying of all sin unto glorification. It's a secular or traditional doctrine of the church which you are appropriating and not giving you the ability to contest the evil inclination, which we call the Yitzhahara in your life. Then it is not the testimony of Yahshua, the Messiah, the son of El. And you should re-examine your position. Last but not least, it is important to see how Yahshua felt concerning those who exalted the laws and order of man above the law of commandments and culture of the kingdom. And we can find his teachings and rebuke on these matters in Matthew 15, verse 3, where it says, and he said to them, Yeshua, why do you go beyond the sayings, the commandments of the El, and you establish your own order, Tagan Notikim, your own order, Tagan Notikim. And this is from the original Hebrew Gospel of Matthew. This shows first that Yeshua honored and respected the order of the divine that is revealed from the commandments of El, and was rebuking the religious leaders of his day, as we should in our day, for going beyond that order and establishing an order from their own nature, from their own perception, without the enlightenment of the Holy Spirit. That is, their ego consciousness. From this, it must be understood that for the followers of the Messiah, those who worship Yahuah in spirit and truth, there is but one order that cannot be diluted with the standards of the human ego, which seeks to profit from its own and for its own. This is the evil of taking capitalistic standards into the assembly, into the church. For capitalism has only one purpose, which is to empower the system, to use the people to empower the system, exploit the people to empower the system and the elite that has developed and governs the system. The order of Yahweh that may manifest from the commandments empowers the whole of the body in every particular. The purpose of the commandments is to bring life to man, to bring power to man, to bring glory to man, and not to exploit him for selfish use. Therefore, Yahshua, as was his manner of teaching, continued on to show the effects of such dilutions of the word of Yahweh by stating its effect in verse 6 of the same chapter of Matthew. And when he was teaching, and I'll just start here, and does not honor his father and his mother. So you bazim, plunder, loot, and spoil the commandments of El by setting your own establishment of order. From the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew. Let me read that again. So you bazim, plunder, loot, and spoil the sayings, the commandments of El, by setting your own establishment of order. From the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew. Not only was Yeshua a keeper and teacher of the commandments, but he also exercised his faith to keep the commandments in a pure appropriation that brought empowerment and not burden upon the people, as we see today. And those who adulterated the commandments or minimized them were called plunderers, looters, and spoilers of the truth, polluting the commandments, the sayings of El, as a means to exalt the order of the human ego consciousness of order, and not the order of the Malkut kingdom of El. These words we need to take seriously. Yahweh has given us his Torah, in which is a divine order. And we must be wise enough to understand that the things that Yahuah has given us is for our salvation, our purity, our empowerment over the world. Many of the problems we have is because we seek to add or take away from the divine order or define them in a way that is complementary to our own darkened will. When we need to apply to our darkened will, not constriction, so that we, through prayer, supplication, and obedience to the truth, may purify our hearts for the reception of divine nature, that we may begin to see from the light of His righteousness and to act from that righteousness above our own desires. We must be very discerning of this. Yeshua was a keeper of the commandments. Yeshua was a teacher of the commandments. And the commandments teach us to deny the life of self and receive and be a receptor, a partaker of His divine nature, by which we are able to see and perceive things from a divine view. Well, we'll end here with part 2 and continue on with part 3 at a later date. Brothers and sisters, Shalom Aleichem. One love.